All right, welcome to the second lesson in this series about learning about Excel. And I remember that these are 5 minute lessons. So today in our lesson, we want to cover manipulating cells. And so looking at formatting cells in particular. So let's jump into it. All right, so in today's lesson, we look at how we manipulate and format cells. So cells, like we mentioned, are intersection of columns and rows. So for example, here we're in cell C3. So let's type in something there. And we'll say, let's type in the word Toledo District. Uh, we'll type in here Stan Creek. And let's take out the word district, because we know we'll be referring to districts, right? And let's do Kyle. And of course, these are names of places within Belize for those people who don't know. So I'm just putting down a list of places. So if you notice here, we have Toledo District, and that is showing. We have Stan Creek, but something is wrong, right? The rest of the creek is not showing. And Kayo, because it's so small, it shows up in the entire cell. So now we're adding actual text value into our cells. So here's what we need to do. We need to find a way to have the entire Stan Creek here showing, right? To do that, you can change the size of the cell by going right here in between when it becomes that cross with the arrows pointing out and a signal line going down. And you can click and hold and drag that to the size that you want. It's as simple as that, right? You can also change the height of the row. And so to change the height of the row, we do the same thing. We come in between the row that we want to change, and we can drag to the different heights that we want. If there were, let's say, I'll put in another district or drop, and we want it to fit directly into the cell, we can also double click here and it changes the height for us automatically. So Excel chooses then what it thinks is needed for the width of the column itself. Good. So we can move around stuff. Say I wanted to move Toledo District. To move, I would select it. So I would select here. I would come here to when it becomes the arrow with the cross, and I could move that around to a different cell if I wanted to. I can also move a range of cell. So for example, this cell range I would select by, again, selection is from middle here. You drag this way. You can also select by holding down the shift key and using your arrow key if you want to be very particular, right? And you can also drag this entire amount of data to anywhere in your worksheet that you want. And you remember that we are calling this worksheet, right? So we're at sheet number 1. So we can move around data again by selecting the data and doing that. If we want to change our column width at the same time, we could select up here when it becomes this arrow and drag across, and we would do only one. So let's say I want everything to be that size, then all 4 columns will change, and so the entire column all the way down becomes a single size, right? One of the other things we can do with these cells is we can copy and paste from cells. So in this case, I could select here, I could copy by doing Control C, and I could come down here and paste, right? And of course, there are different paste options available for you, and we'll have a segment where we look at only paste options, right? We can also, if you notice here, let me get rid of that. Whenever we type something into a cell, it also shows up here in our formula bar. So you can change data from here by double clicking. If I were to go into the cell and just start typing, it deletes whatever data, erases whatever data is inside the cell, and then you have to start over, right? But if you wanted to, say for example, edit something, like I made a spelling wrong with that, for example, I could double click, and then it gives me an opportunity to go ahead and edit within the cell. I can also come up here to the formula bar and make edits to the cell itself, right? And so that's another way for us to change data within cells. Just like Microsoft Word and any other software that you might have used, you're able to delete and so forth. So that's how we manipulate cell sizes. So we looked at manipulating cell sizes, the cutting of content within cells, copying of content, and moving of content from one area of the workbook to another. And that concludes today's lesson. I hope you learned something. Give it a try, right? And in next lesson, we can look at actual formatting for a worksheet.